Silapha ke sizokuthi kubo sinani sizogcwala kunye nani emswaneni kulento imbi kangaka enehleleyo njengefamily yakwaMshengu. I called Bra Ivan, I call him like that, Dr. Khoza, when the news broke out. And on that day, he was totally devastated. He was a man of very few words. All he said to me was, Vavi kubi. So I say, I know. But he asked a very pertinent question. How is it be that we survived everything that the apartheid regime could throw at us as the people? But now, we are perishing one by one at the hands of the criminals. And I thought about this, Bra Ivan, and I asked, indeed, how is it possible that these 62 million South Africans totally succumb to a new rule and a new way of doing things? How is it possible that, for example, in Port Elizabeth, the only place in the history of the struggle of this country where something called the M plan succeeded to be implemented street by street, area to area, the Nelson Mandela plan, called the Mandela plan, underground and above the surface. And through that, we could be inspired all over the country to build similar street committees and area committees to resist and to fight everything that the system could throw at us. How is it possible now that we have a democratic breakthrough in 1994, that suddenly we get ruled by a brutal, ruthless minority that doesn't hesitate to take lives, to rape the aged, the young, to get into our homes and torture us, and to make us suffer the pain that the Tshabalala family is suffering today? How is that possible that in Soweto, the township that we used to say when it sneezes, the whole of the country catches cold, that suddenly we succumb to this brutal minority of ruthless criminals who are ruling us to the point that they have taken over our streets, our night, everything from us. So as we remember today that Nelson Mandela was born, and as we bury and say farewell to one of the most distinguished heroines in sport, Stanley Shabalala, may we take a moment to ask ourselves and to answer that question Bra Ivan was asking me. How did we hand over the entirety of what we are about as a people to this ruthless minority of crooks who have taken over the streets of our motherland? I've been asked to speak for the local organizing committee. I have an honor to do so because we served together with all of them, this array of leaders of football in our country. So I reminded Brother Ivan about the jokes, the laughter, but the robust and the historic work that Stanley, Shabalala, and others put in order to put our country right up there in the stars. We don't have time to talk about that legacy today. We have only 3 minutes. But we know how he made us so proud as a nation, as a continent, and as black people in the entire diaspora. We have come here to pay respect to him, to salute him. But I've also felt that I must say something as one of the most distinguished leaders of the working people in our country, which have served for decades, that the soccer, is ours. This is the working class sport, and thanks to all of you, the leadership, we have kept it the working class sport. This is what makes us survive the daily tribulations, the suffering, the pains workers go through every day in their working lives. This is what makes us laugh and cry every weekend when we go to the stadiums and when we watch the football. Without this contribution during the darkest days of apartheid, and even now, the levels of depression in this country, and we're known to be a very depressed country. I read somewhere that we are the second most depressed nation in the world after Russia, and that 36% of us have mental issues with various degrees. But what makes us to survive every day as the working people in this country is our number one sport. Soccer is the screamer. But today, with bleeding hearts, we have come here to say farewell. Our shoe shine and piano. We have come to say thank you very much for an unparalleled contribution we have made to the development of our game, soccer. Thank you very much, President, and thanks and salutations to the family.